Hello, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Benji. Welcome to our series where we invite you to follow us on our journey moving to the beautiful Scottish Southern Uplands.
Into a 174-year-old cottage.
Welcome back and thanks for joining us again. After finding our dream cottage in the beautiful Scottish countryside and having our offer finally accepted, in the last video the whole thing was almost off, when we were shocked by the high quote we received from the damp specialist to resolve the damp issues in the stone wall.
Obviously that's way outside of our budget. I think we're going to have to reconsider, potentially may have to even pull out and withdraw our offer.
But fortunately we were able to renegotiate a slightly lower offer with the seller, which will help with some of the costs of repairs. We had a damp specialist conduct a survey and I go through the report, but I'm not entirely happy with what I see.
I don't want the gorgeous stone wall, which is part of the charm of the cottage, to be replastered. That will look rubbish.
Coming up in this video.
Oh my god, the comments on social media.
What have we done?
They're actually quite negative.
What are you up to?
I am packaging one of our upcycled camera lamps that we make. So this is our thing. We love upcycling, we love sustainability, and we often buy these old vintage curiosities such as this cute little vintage camera, and we'll give it a new purpose. Upcycle it, give it a new purpose. In this case it's a cute little desk lamp. So this one's been sold via our website, and I'm just packaging it ready to post to the customer. If you like our stuff, pop over to the website www.godwinvintage.co.uk. So that's what I'm up to.
Very good. Have you ever heard of something called Magnetic DPC?
No. What's that?
So it's kind of like a new technology. I was having a read up about damp walls and stuff like that. And apparently this magnetic DPC kind of produces magnetic forces which then push damp out of a building.
Right.
So I'm going to have a little read up about it and
Never heard of that before.
No, apparently some new technology.
But then having never experienced damp in buildings, in old buildings before, there's lots of, I'm sure there's lots of methods to combat damp that we've never heard of.
Yeah, no, just some of the reviews I've seen about it seem quite good. So
Yeah.
it might be worth having a look into.
It sounds expensive.
I don't know. I'll have to ask and find out.
Oh, you can, yeah, it's worth looking into, I suppose.
Hmm.
So with Adam's discovery of this potential so-called new technology, Magnetic DPC or Magnetic Damp Proof course, I decided to do a little bit of digging around and a little bit of research. So seemingly this is new technology, and without going into too much scientific technical detail, which is way above me, apparently how it works is they'll come out, assess the space and the moisture levels and all the rest of it, and they'll install what kind of looks almost like a ceramic beehive somewhere in the house. And this, as far as I'm aware, or from what I can make out, this emits some kind of electromagnetic field or something, I don't know, but what it does is it draws the moisture out from the brickwork or the stonework. So it's a non-invasive solution. The reviews that I've seen, there are quite a few videos online with people who have apparently had this treatment in their homes, including one of the videos I've seen was an old church, and they all swear by it. They all say they don't know how it works scientifically. It seems a little bit like magic, but it just works, is what they say. However, I have my reservations because the only positive reviews that I could see, I couldn't find a lot of information at all, but the only positive reviews I could see for this technology were videos either on the manufacturer's website or on a YouTube channel which I think is also run by the manufacturer or the company that supplies them, fits them, provides them, whatever. So immediately alarm bells start ringing. It does sound too good to be true. I'm always very skeptical about things like this. You know, if this works, why isn't everybody using it to resolve the damp issues? Install a ceramic looking beehive in the house for 6 months, a year, whatever, and voila, as if by magic, the damp has gone. It does sound too good to be true, doesn't it? But then there's that little part of me that's thinking, but what if it does work? It could be, I don't have any idea of costs at the moment. It could be more expensive than more kind of conventional damp-proof methods, or it could be less expensive. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to contact the company. I'm going to drop them an email and, you know, just explain the issues with the damp wall in the cottage, and take it from there and see if see what they get back to me with. So I'll let you know. Well, that was quick. So I've had a response from this company who provides this Magnetic DPC service. Literally within around 30 minutes they got back to me, and from what they've said, obviously without coming out and you know, visiting the property and assessing it and everything, from what I've told them about the damp issue with the end gable wall of the cottage and the high levels of moisture within the living room and everything, they've basically told me that they are confident the system would work, and the cost of it would be around half of what we've been quoted for the more conventional damp proofing methods. If that's true, then that's amazing, that's fantastic, but I'd like to think I'm no fool. As I said a little earlier, I definitely have my reservations. It just sounds too good to be true. I mean, come on. If this is a cheaper option, and it works, and it's a less invasive option, is just hang this device up in the house somewhere, and it does its thing, and as if by magic, it just draws the damp out of the walls. Why isn't everybody using it? So what I'm going to do is I found on social media there is a group, a kind of chat group, and it's all about older period properties and renovation. So I'm going to put a little post on there with my findings thus far. So I'm going to put a post on about the quote that we received from the damp proofing specialist the other day, and you know, basically saying what he'd advised to do, i.e. damp proof coarse membrane, plastering the stone wall and all of the rest of it. And I'll mention about this seemingly new technology, the Magnetic DPC, and just to see what other people say, because it's tempting to kind of not so much go with it, but to certainly look further into it, just because it sounds great if it works, but I'm not convinced. So I quite like to get opinions of people who have experienced things like this, who perhaps live in older properties and have experienced issues with damp and high levels of moisture. What did they do? There has to be another option other than, like I said, plastering over the stone wall. So yeah, I'm gonna drop this post on this social media group about old properties and renovation, and see if I get any comments back, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know what people say.
What you up to?
Oh my god, the comments on social media.
What have you done?
They're actually quite negative. So I posted on a discussion forum on social media, a discussion forum about period properties and renovations and things like that, the damp issues that we're having. And I basically said, you know, we're buying this 174-year-old stone cottage in Scotland. It has severe damp issues in the stone gable wall, and we've received a quote from a damp specialist, and I've explained that, but as part of the repairs they are wanting to put a damp proof course in and replaster it with plasterboard and everything, plaster over the stone wall, which obviously isn't what we want. And I've also said about the magnetic DCP method that we've discovered, which apparently is a new technology at half the cost, half the price. And everybody's saying basically, no, don't do it. The comments are very negative, not towards me, towards these so-called damp-proof specialists, and especially the magnetic DPC. You know, comments like, by putting modern damp-proof methods in an old building is going to make the issue worse, because old buildings need to breathe. They need natural materials like lime mortar and lime plaster, which is breathable, rather than gypsum plaster and plasterboard. Apparently that will just kind of suffocate the building and make the damp worse. People saying you don't need a damp specialist. What you need is an old building specialist. Modern damp proofing methods won't work in old buildings. Yeah, they're quite negative. The magnetic DPC people are saying, oh, new technology. Oh boy. Somebody had suggested snake oil treatment, as in con merchants. Another comment, both utter and complete tosh and fraud. Get hold of a copy of the Warm Dry Home book before you do anything, and read and absorb and ponder. All of the answers will be in there. Don't spend money until you've diagnosed the real issues. So pretty much everyone's saying the damp-proof specialist, the techniques they use might be more suitable for more modern homes, but definitely not older properties. It'll be a waste of money is what they're saying, and it can make the issues worse. And the magnetic DPC, this so-called new technology, they're just laughing at it. It actually makes me feel quite foolish for posting, but it's definitely food for thought. We need to research this further.
I think so, yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I don't know anything about owning an old property or renovating it or anything. Oh dear.
Oh dear, Benjamin. You look depressed just to look at the thought of it. You want to give a shout out to your friend Maisie?
Oh, this is peaceful, isn't it?
Hmm?
What do you think, Benji? Huh? All I can smell is wet dog. What a beautiful Saturday afternoon this is.
Natural sun in Scotland.
This is quite rare for a Saturday in Scotland.
This is summer. One day.
One day. So we're actually at Green and Shaw on the west coast of Scotland. We're bringing Benji for a walk. I don't know if you can see there just in the background, Green and Castle. Over there. Cute little castle ruin just perched on the cliff top. Right up our street, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, not right up our street as in location-wise. It's about an hour's drive from where we currently live, but right up our street as in terms of interest. Anyway, so whereabouts are we with the whole move to the countryside and the cottage and everything? Not that much further along, actually. So the last time we spoke to you, we'd accepted an offer from our buyer for our property, which was fantastic. That's all gone through. Yeah, that's gone through really, really quick. And she is super keen to move. The thing that's holding us up now, I guess, is the vendors of the cottage that we're moving to. We just heard from our solicitor last week that they probably won't be ready to move until October, November at the earliest. And we were like, holy cow. We were wanting to get in while the weather's still warm so we can try and resolve this damp wall issue on the end gable wall of the cottage. That's clearly not going to happen now, is it? It's going to be winter by the time we move in. I think more frustratingly, the person who is buying our property is ready to go, quick to go. She'd proposed a date of 20th of September. Obviously that's not going to happen. Where's he gone?
What, he's having a...
Ah.
Come on, Benjamin.
He's doing a poo. Yeah, we won't show that.
We'll clear that up in a minute.
And yeah, so it's just kind of everything's just in limbo at the moment. So we're gonna have to
chase solicitors and put a bit of pressure on now, and try and get some dates organised. Otherwise, this is just going to tick on a bit, and everyone's going to get a bit frustrated.
Yeah. I think more frustrating for our buyer. She'd actually told us that she'd accepted a slightly lower offer from a cash buyer just because they weren't part of a chain, so we could get things moving more quickly. And seemingly she'd turned down a slightly higher offer from someone who was part of a chain. So it's not ideal, but what can you do if the sellers of the cottage we're buying aren't ready to move just yet? Where's he gone?
He's over there.
Oh, yeah. Come on. So yeah, not a lot else has happened at the moment. It's just, as I said in the last video, one of my comments was, it's all a little bit of a waiting game. Hopefully we'll be in before Christmas. just in time for the bad weather. So in the meantime, all we can do really is continue to declutter our own place and boxing things up. We've got tons of cardboard boxes stored in the shed, waiting for us to start packing.
Waiting for you to start to declutter your wardrobes.
Waiting for me to start decluttering all my stuff. Adam knows I can be Adam knows I can be a bit of a hoarder at times.
I feel like I'm going to declutter your stuff, and then that will solve the issue.
Don't think so.
Oh, I'll keep this empty box. It might be useful.
The empty boxes for my gadgets and gizmos that if I upgrade, if I upgrade and decide I want to sell them, obviously you can usually get a bit more money if you're selling things second hand and they have the original boxes. Oh, that's my thought process anyway. And yeah, so in the meantime, we're continuing to seek guidance and
ideas on potentially how to resolve this damp wall issue. If anybody has any thoughts, comments or suggestions, it is a historic building, almost 200 years old, and from what we're hearing from people, modern damp proofing methods just won't work. In fact, they could just exacerbate the problem. So we shall keep you updated. As always, bye for now. Well, that was good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a very enjoyable afternoon out at the beach. Benjamin? Benji?
Sleeping.
Yeah, there he is. Did you enjoy it? It was very nice to get out with the Labrador. Got some fresh air and rare Scottish sunshine. Back home, grab a takeaway and a few beers in the oven.
Back home, start boxing, packing, sorting out, clearing out the house. What you should be doing while I sit in the garden. A large bottle of gin. Shouting at the dad, you ringing my bell for the next drink.
Ringing your bell. Oh, your Land Rover bell.
The Land Rover bell.
We'll need to show you Adam's Land Rover bell. Being a Land Rover fanatic, I'll show you his Land Rover bell. So some of you may be wondering why we're talking so much about this damp wall issue in the cottage when we haven't even moved into the cottage yet. We're still living in our new build house. We don't have the keys to the cottage yet. But the reason we're researching this so much and talking about it and asking for advice is because when we do get the keys and we move in, we basically want to hit the ground running. We want to learn as much as we possibly can about the damp issue with the end gable wall and potential solutions, how to resolve it before we move in, so that we're armed with this knowledge. It is a learning curve. Neither of us have owned an old property like this before, so we're basically wanting to just swat up and learn as much as we possibly can so that we make the right decisions. A lot of you have already mentioned in the comments on YouTube on previous videos that you know, basically don't go with the quote from the damp specialist because modern damp proofing methods, they don't work on old buildings. In fact, it can make things worse. And you have given me lots of advice and lots of tips on how we can resolve this issue, so thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. And we've even had some comments from people suggesting that if it was them, they would probably just walk away from the cottage because of the damp issues. It could be an absolute nightmare. We don't really think that's true because we now see that the details on the survey, the damp survey and the home report, we think it makes it appear more scary than it actually is. The damp issue is isolated to one wall, the end gable wall of the cottage, with high moisture levels within the living room where that wall is. The rest of the cottage is completely fine. There are no category 3 repairs on the rest of the cottage. The roof is sound, the chimneys are sound, and perhaps there's a little bit of render and flaking here and there that needs looking at. But for the most part, the cottage is fine. So we're definitely not going to walk away from it. We're in this for the long haul, and we're just going to, you know, figure out solutions, hopefully with the help of you guys. Also, we were told by our solicitor that the current owners of the cottage wouldn't be ready to move out until October or November. So we had it in our heads that we probably wouldn't get to move into the cottage until November. But then we had this news.
So I've just been on the phone to our solicitors to see if there's any updates on anything, and there is an update, so I'm going to go and shout Jolly and tell him some news.
What is it?
What's a camera?
What do you want?
What do I want?
Yeah.
Right, so for you and all our followers on this YouTube channel thing, as you know, you've been following our progress of the potential move to Cottage. So I've been on to solicitors today to try and find out what's going on, because obviously we haven't heard anything from the sellers of the house we're buying about move-in dates or anything like that.
Right. What did the solicitors say? I'm actually amazed you managed to get in touch with them.
Well, apparently they tried to ring either you or me yesterday about this.
Ring?
Yeah, because this is quite urgent.
Okay. Well, there's been no missed calls, so unless you've got the wrong number.
But I think they must have got the wrong number, because I haven't had any missed calls, have you?
No.
Oh.
No.
Right. So...
That's our solicitors for you.
Yeah.
You can't say that. No, actually you can say that, because we're not saying whose solicitors they are.
So, I've been on to them today to say, come on, I've been trying to find out what's been going on. Do we have a move-in date? Is it still all going forward? What's going on? Because we haven't heard anything from the sellers. So they've got hold of the sellers even though they're on holiday.
Right.
And we have a move date.
No way. Seriously?
Yeah.
When?
2 weeks.
Shut up. Seriously?
Yeah.
Really?
We move on October the 11th.
No way.
Which is about 4 weeks.
Oh my god. Actually, my eyes are watering. There's something in my eye, Benji.
Benjamin, you're going to be moving. Benji, you've got 4 weeks to pack your kibbles.
Benji. We're moving. What do you think of that? No way.
Yeah, so... yeah, I rang them and said, you know, what's going on, da 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 da. She said, oh, we're trying to contact you yesterday. Yeah, we've heard back from the vendors. Yeah, they have agreed to October the 11th. So they've now got to contact our buyer's solicitors to talk to our buyer to confirm that that date's okay. And if that date's okay, then it's all systems go.
Right. Oh my god. What happened to end of October, beginning of November? We were thinking we weren't going to be in before Christmas.
It's because I put pressure on. And it's worked.
That's insane.
But we've got 4 weeks to pack this house.
Well, you better get packing.
Yeah, you better start clearing out your crap.
Benji, you better start packing all them toys.
Are you showing off, dog? This is Benjamin with the excitement of moving house. Go on then.
That's great news. That's brilliant news. That's made my day. That's made my week. That really has made my week.
That's just scared the absolute crap out of me.
It's really quite scary because I was thinking, we've got loads of time. We're not moving till end of October at the earliest, which is what we were told. Probably beginning of November. That's what I was thinking. So
No,
I thought
11th of October.
I thought we've got loads.
11th.
That's so good though. Oh, brilliant. That's amazing.
Right, I'm going to have a cup of tea.
But scary at the same time. Well, that brings us to the end of yet another video. Thank you so much for following along on our journey so far, and we just can't wait to get the keys to actually move into our cottage, and of course we hope you'll continue following us on our journey from then on, once we actually move in.
Thanks for all your comments and advice as well on information to do with buying our property, how to deal with it, how to look after it, especially all the damp suggestions and recommendations of where to look and people to talk to. We will definitely take all those on board, and I don't think it's going to be as bad a process as we first thought out.
We hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Adam said, it really has been great, and we really do appreciate all of your positive comments, wishing us luck, and all of the advice. It really has been absolutely fantastic. We do have to give a couple of shout outs from Benjamin, to the Chocolate Labrador Macy, and also Golden Retriever and Labrador Ellie and Barney. So Benji, you've got a couple of followers, you've got friends. But seriously guys, thank you so much, and we'll hopefully see you all in the next video. Do you think of that? Yeah?
Is that good?
Is that good?
Let's go for a walk.
Go for a walk. Come on then, come on. Let's go, go on.